Meslet students, Mr. Mtize here from Meslet Academy. Today we are going to look at compound interest. Remember in our previous video when we spoke about interest and got into simple interest, when we were calculating interest using the simple interest formula. Now we are going to change it, and today we are going to look at the compound interest formula, whereby we do it differently. Simple interest, we calculate the interest, the amount from the principal amount only. But compound interest is now a different formula whereby we calculate the interest on the current balance. So how do we do it? This is why I'm here. Let's get going. So what happens now is when you're calculating compound interest, there are things that you need to know in advance before we start, because we need to get to a place whereby we are told now that interest rate is given, and we are told that it is compounded either yearly, half yearly, quarterly, and monthly. So what does this mean? Now, when this happens, one thing that you need to understand with the way that we do compound interest in mathematical literacy, it is the interest rate that is affected. It's the interest rate that is affected. So what happens now, if it is, we are compounding it once a year, it means that we do the 24% once in a year. If it's half yearly, which means the interest is being calculated twice a year. So what happens now to the interest rate is now 24% divided by 2. Why? Because we are doing it twice a year, which means after every 6 months. And we get to calculate that 12% becomes our interest. Now, when you're dealing with it compounded quarterly, it means we take the 24% and we divide it by 4. So our interest rate becomes 6%, which means we calculate the 6% as our interest 4 times in a given year. And when you're saying monthly, it means that it's 24% divided by 12, and our interest rate will be 2%. So which means when we are calculating, we are adding 2% on a monthly basis, so that at the end of the month, it goes back to 24%, which is the given interest rate. I hope you get that one. Now let's get into an example and see how it works. Now I've got an example with me here. Tato borrows 1,000, at 10% compound interest per year for a period of 3 years. Calculate the final amount. Just like we did in simple interest, we calculate it on a yearly basis, year by year. So this is how you do it. So year number 1, we'll take the principal amount, which is 1,000 rands, plus the interest rate, which is 10%, multiplied by the principal amount. Notice the first period for simple interest and compound interest are almost the same. So when we solve this bracket, 10% of 1,000 rands is 100 rand. When you put them together, they give us 1,100 rands. So that is the balance at the end of year number 1. So year number 2, we take the balance of year number 1, 1,100 rands plus 10%, 10 over 100 multiplied by 1,100. Right? Notice that in simple interest, the interest calculation remains the same. But in compound interest, the interest calculation changes. We calculate the interest, like I said, on the current balance. So what's going to happen here? We bring down 1,100 plus. When we solve that bracket 10%, we get 110 rand. And when we add these two, at the end of the second year, it's 1,210 rands. So that's our balance. We take our balance, boys and girls, and we continue with it into year number 3. 1,210 plus the interest multiplied by 1,210. You see now that the amount that we are calculating the interest for is going to increase yearly. Why? Because we are calculating the interest on the current balance, which is going to be now 1,210 plus 121 rands. And when we put them together, we are going to get 1,331 rands at the end of the year. So you're going to discover that we began with 1,000 rand. Notice these grade 12s. And then we grew it to 1,331. So you remember that this is the principal, the initial amount. Now, in this amount here, there is the principal, the initial amount, and also the interest amount. So how do we calculate the interest in this scenario? Now, the interest, we'll get it by saying now, 1,331 minus 1,000 rands. And our answer will be what? 331 rands. That's our interest amount. That's all you need to do. That's how you need to get it. Let's do example number 2, boys and girls. Now, in this scenario now, I've got our son who has borrowed 8,000 at 8% per annum, compounded half yearly for 2 years. Calculate the final amount. Now, it's a bit different from the first one that we calculated because we are told this information, right? That is 8% compounded half yearly. Yes. So what do? We need to calculate the interest amount per every half of the year. So what happens now is for us to get the rate, we are now going to say 8%, which is per year, we divide it by 2, which means per every interval, per every period that we are going to calculate, we are going to use what? 4%. And the other procedure is the same. So year number 1, this is how we do it. 8,000 rands plus, open bracket, our interest is 4 over 100 multiplied by 8,000 rands. That's the first half of the year, which is equal to 8,000 rands plus, what do we get when we solve this bracket? Yes, it's 320. So at the end of the first half of the year, we are going to have grown this amount to 8,320. And when we are done with this, we take our current balance. It becomes our initial amount for the second half, which is 8,320 plus, again, 4 over 100 multiplied by 8,320. Yes, we bring down our current balance, 8,320 plus, what is 4% of 8,320? 4% of 8,320 is 332 rands, 80 cents. And when we calculate and we put them all together, what are we going to get now? It's 8,652 rands, 80 cents. So at the end of the first year, I want you to notice we'll have grown our amount from 8,000 to 8,600 and what? And 52 rands, 80. When we are using 8% compounded half yearly for 2 years. So let's call it the second year. So for the second year, our opening balance now is going to be again 8,652 rands, 80 cents plus the interest amount of 4% multiplied by 8,652 rands, 80 cents. And then we bring down our opening balance, current balance, plus what is 8%, 4%, sorry, of our current balance. 4% is 346 rands, 0.112. Notice I did not round it off. Why? Because it's not the final answer. Whenever you round it off before you get the final answer, you sometimes have some problems. So just use it as it is. Now, what will be my final answer now is going to be 8,998 rands, 0.912, which then goes now to the last half of our second year, right? 8,998.912 plus our interest rate, 4% multiplied by 8,998.912, right? We bring down some calculation, 8,998.912 plus What is 4% of that amount now is going to be 359 rands, 0.956. And when we add them together to get our accumulated amount that we are looking for, it's 9,358 rands, 0.868. Now, remember, when we are dealing with finance, with money, we are supposed to make sure that we round off and we have got 2 decimal places after the comma. So we look at the third value, which is an 8, which is above 5. So which means we add 1 to the previous digit. So our answer, final answer, rounded off to 2 decimal places, is 9,358.87 cents. So this is our final amount of the year. And remember, I've said to you, it includes the initial amount and the interest. How do we get the interest? We get this amount and then we subtract it from the initial amount, which is our 8,000. And the difference is our interest. Let me do it for you here below. So interest is going to be now 9,000 rands, 358 cents 87 minus 8,000 rands. What will be our answer there? On the calculator, you're going to find out that it's 1,358 rands 87 cents. So what does it mean now? It means that on top of getting the 8,000, Hassan, when he pays back after 2 years, he is going to pay back an extra 1,358 rands 87 cents as interest. So this is what you need to know, boys and girls, for compound interest. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe so that you can be able to have the next videos that are going to come. Thank you so much.